Hey, what's going on, everybody? Once again, back it's the incredible Dale Valor's Inner Game podcast. And as always, we got my trusted confidant, Shabam. You good, brother?
Hello, hello. Yep, pretty good.
All right, you sound excited.
For sure, for sure.
But yeah, I'm really excited about this particular episode. And for those of you who don't know what inner game is, or just maybe have a loose understanding of it, the way I like to define it is the relationship that you have with yourself. And it is nearly impossible to have good relationships with others, whether it's a romantic relationship, a business relationship, just even with friends and family. If you don't have a good relationship with you, how can you expect others to have a good relationship with you? So that's what we're all about here, and that's why I'm really excited about today's particular episode, because it was crazy, man. I had put a post out on Facebook. I don't know, it was probably maybe a few weeks ago, something like that. And John Pace, who's sitting here with me, we'll introduce him momentarily. But he had commented, and I don't even remember what the post was about, to be honest. But he said something really insightful in the comments, and I was like, wow. Usually people just kind of, and I appreciate anybody that comments on whatever I post and things like that. But his really stood out, and so I was like, let me take a look at his Facebook profile, because I just wasn't really familiar with, even though we're friends on there. And so I take a look through his profile, and I started cobbling together a little bit of a story here that I found to be truly inspiring. So I hit him up and I was like, John, would you be down to come on my podcast? And he was like, absolutely. So we set it up, and here we are. So John, I'm glad you're here, man. Like I said before getting on today, I was going through your profile a little bit just to kind of get a little bit better of an insight and things like that. And you have just a truly amazing transformational story, and I would love to hear it from the horse's mouth, and kind of get where you were at, where you are now, and like what happened in between, and just kind of get the gist of everything that you went through, man, and where you're at now.
Right on. Where to begin? Let's see. I was a pretty successful guy. I had had a utility construction business going, and in between contracts, I came home to visit, and my granddad asked me to go work on a roof with him. So I went and worked on a roof with him, and I fell. And when I fell, I broke a couple of vertebrae in my spine, leaving me paralyzed. And so essentially, like, they call it the life day, because it's the day that you survived a horrible accident like that. So that was June 9th in 2018.
Okay.
And really, honestly, the old me died that day. It had no choice. I was a lineman for 20 years at the time. So I had done, well, not an electrical lineman. I was a utility lineman. I worked for the phone company and stuff. Okay. So, but anyhow, yeah, so fell off a roof that day, got hurt, and was married, had been married for almost 10 years. We had a kid together and stuff. And a couple years into the accident, because it takes about 18 months just to heal up enough to really function well as a paraplegic. But when I started driving, the lady I was married to decided that, hey, look, you're independent enough, so I don't think I want to be married anymore. And we went our separate ways. Yeah, so man, it was crazy, because I was just kind of left with, like, what do I do now? And it pretty much left me homeless at the time. But I have a son who's 25, so he had a house. He put me up for a few months, so I bought this little house here that I'm in now.
Okay.
And so essentially lost everything, got it all back. In the meantime, had to figure out what to do. And I'd always had a passion for writing. So the first thing I did was I wrote a little book on a how to figure it out, and it's 11 different exercises that I use to figure it out.
Yeah, I
Sort
got
of
you. That's dope.
yeah, right on.
Yeah.
And
Can we can you shoot me a link as to how people can get a hold of that book?
oh, certainly, certainly.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I'll do
When the
that.
podcast, obviously this isn't live, so when this
Right on.
podcast drops, I'll have it linked up in the description and all
Okay,
that stuff.
cool enough. Yeah, yeah, we can do that
Okay,
for
cool.
sure.
So when you say the old you died that day, what how do you define the old you? Like, what's the old you versus the new you? Because I'll tell you, your mindset is just incredible to me.
Right on.
Like
Well, thank you.
the adversity. I mean, not just the losing the ability to walk, but losing your wife too, and your home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Sure,
your
sure.
mindset is just unbelievable.
Yeah, who was I? Like I said, I was a pretty successful utilities contractor at the time. Just an owner operator. So I was contracted to one of the larger franchises there in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
And again, let's see. I like to think that I was a walking, talking tough guy, but it never worked out or nothing like that. I was married. My life was in order.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't think that I would ever even face something like this.
Sure, who does?
Right. So, let's see. I just thought that I was just your regular good guy. And then this happened and left me where I was left, which was, just out back, so to speak.
Yeah.
And yeah, so from there, I just had to figure it out. And I was in a really dark place as far as that goes. I was like, I mean, why am I even trying and this sort of thing. But as I worked through some of these exercises, one of the first ones is to figure out exactly what you are. So I wrote down just a list of all the different things that I thought I was. And at the top of the list was dad.
Yeah.
Right. I have grown children, then I have an 11-year-old.
Okay.
But so my number one focus has been at this point, I started focusing more on some of my kids. Well, I say some of my kids, but my children in general.
Right.
And I had one kid who'd gotten bad on drugs. He was, I think, 19 when we figured it out. And so I was like, okay, this kid needs me more than anybody.
Yeah.
And so I started spending some time with him and teaching him to try to kind of get him on a decent path, which now, he's got a house, he's got a job, he's clean.
Good.
It's been 2 years for him now. So,
okay.
Yeah. Right, so he's doing pretty good. And, yeah, so I wanted to use sort of the same stuff to help other people. And that's when I sat down and started writing this particular book. Anyway.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. So when the accident had happened, right, I'm going to assume that you were probably, out of it, I mean, in terms of like, I know if you fall off a roof, like, I don't know, did it knock you out or like, were you conscious at the time or?
Sort of the way it happened is, it was about to rain. So I was putting a tarp on the roof. We had the roof torn off. And I was laying down some boards, and the tarp was at this little L shape on the roof.
Yeah.
And I knew that there was nothing to step on, so I was just trying to get close to the edge and then just step and then flipped and like landed. And when I landed, it felt like my feet were still straight up in the air. I was in a lot of pain, don't get me wrong. But then when I looked, I'm just kind of like in a pile on the ground. I was like, uh-oh, this isn't good. And I stayed conscious the whole time. Sure enough. I didn't pass out until I was at the hospital. And I actually passed out in the hospital when they were moving me around and stuff, trying to get
they probably put you on heavy medication, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It didn't seem like it helped, but I'm sure it did.
All right. So when not what I'm trying to do here is kind of establish a timeline a little bit.
Okay,
So
sure.
when not now obviously you don't know what's going on really. I mean, you know you're in pain, you know you're at the
Oh, I
hospital.
was fully aware. No kidding. I knew what was happening. I even told the ambulance driver that he needed to slow down, that I wasn't going to die. My back was just broken. Yeah.
All right,
So,
so but when the doctor came in and told you, hey, look, there's a chance here that you might not walk again. Where does your mind go when you hear something that's that, life changing, basically in one sentence? Like where
Yeah.
does your mind jump to?
right. Well, with bills to pay and everything, I was like, uh-oh, I'm going to lose everything.
Wow.
Essentially. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, how am I going to keep supporting this family like this? Because the wife didn't work, and I was sole provider. So.
Okay. All right. So how long did it take you? Because you said you were kind of in a dark spot.
Mm-hmm.
How long did that transformation take to start having a really positive mindset, and where you're overcoming this as opposed to falling victim to it?
Right. Probably when she left, to be honest. Once I was left out on my own, it was literally live or die.
Yeah.
So I chose the living option,
Okay.
and it's a way
What?
better option.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Makes
Can you
sense.
share more insight as to like the experience in the sense from, I mean, if I'm getting a bit more accurate, like when you were down, like really down in
Mhm.
the dumps, to when you decided, okay, this ain't me. I need to do something about it, like that sort of a thing. That like
Sure.
there should be some.
I basically dove headfirst into kind of alcoholism, but she was kind of my enabler for that. Um, I'd be like hurting and stuff, and she's like, "Well, here, take a drink. This will help." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." So, and it started like that, and then I just kind of went down that hole and never got better. Just never really got better. And through it all, I probably made it hell on her at the same time, because I mean, alcoholism and losing
Yeah.
losing the ability to walk and ability to work and all these things. So part of that's my own fault, and essentially until I decided that I had to take personal responsibility for my life, I mean, it was all going awry.
Was there a catalyst, like a defining moment that you were like, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm done
Yeah.
with relying on alcohol. I have to do something. Was there like one singular like thing that was just like a wake up call to you?
Oh yeah, yeah. Again, it was well, I guess that this is where it really went down. It was at Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was Christmas time, and um, I ended up. She'd already said that she was leaving, so she was spending Christmas in her apartment, her new place, and then the lease was about to expire on this place in just like a couple days.
Okay.
I had to be out, and so I was sitting there and all that, and I mean, just really got super down, super, super drunk, really, and the police ended up coming out, and they're like, "You are in a horrible place," and I was. So
Yeah.
um, I kind of got some forced help for like a day or two of monitoring, and they're like, "There's nothing wrong with you. What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. What am I doing?" So in that particular moment, I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So I was like, I got 4 kids. I have at the time just one grandchild. I have two now. Um,
Nice.
and I was like, so are we going to be a positive influence on this family, or are we going to carry this family thing of alcoholism on forward
Mm-hmm.
and pass it on? And it was at that point I said, well, no matter what, I'm going to get straight. So, and that's what I did. So,
I got you. Is there
yeah.
Is there a possibility through rehab? I know it's been years now, but even still, is there a possibility through rehab and stuff like that that you can regain the ability to walk, or is this kind of a done deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm what's considered a complete injury, but um, I have learned how to stand again,
Okay,
which is cool. So just to get some weight through my bones and stuff, I stand for a few minutes a day, and
okay,
that's about all I can handle as far as on my feet. But um, nobody really thinks that I'll walk again, and that's okay because the wheelchair has given me the freedom to get around, happily.
Mm-hmm.
It's never a matter of I can't get a place. It's just a matter of logistics, really.
yeah,
So
I get you.
yeah,
Okay, that makes sense.
Uh, uh, yeah, I had another question also. When you said, right, that okay, now you're gonna get this trade because you need to be there for your family and all that. What was the
right.
next thing you did right after that? Because like that moment, you're like, yes, I have to do something. So
Mhm.
what was exactly, the step that you decided, okay, now I have to at least like what was your step one, step two, that sort of a thing from that point, basically.
Sure, sure. Well, I looked in the mirror and noticed that I was kind of like out of shape, and that made
Hmm.
things hard. So I started in the gym, and
Hmm.
as I got into the gym, I noticed that there are wheelchair bodybuilders out there. So I started talking to the other wheelchair bodybuilders, and I got into it myself. If
Hmm.
nothing else, to feel better about myself. Which this year the plan is to compete in June and hopefully become one of the wheelchair pros of the world. Because
Nice.
there's yeah,
Damn,
there's
that's
only
cool.
37 right now. So um, hopefully I can be 38 or 39, whichever is the next
Okay.
contest. So yeah,
Hmm.
All right. All right. So you get into the gym, you start feeling a little bit better about yourself.
right.
Can you kind of break down one of the exercises from your book? Like say for instance, you're talking to somebody and they're just going through it, man. I mean, maybe it's not a physical thing like yourself. Maybe I mean it could be anything, right? Maybe
Yeah.
it's
Sure.
drugs, maybe it's the relationships they're in, maybe whatever it is. What
Yeah.
is something that you have as an exercise that it's kind of a canopy that will kind of
Mhm.
work with anybody?
Yeah.
It's what do you want to do? Because it's if there's nothing out there for you to aim at, then there's nothing to go for. You're just wandering aimlessly. So that's the first thing is what do you want to do? You know, what do you want to be? Um, and if somebody is a drug addict, which I've encountered the drug addict, and I've said, so what do you want to be? And the answer is usually I don't know to
Yeah.
begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and once somebody's got at least the next thing figured out, like I want to be this thing, then you figure out the path, and then you walk the path.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah,
Not that it's an easy path,
of course
because
not.
there's always going to, the path looks a lot like
Hmm.
this, but
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
yeah,
Yeah, the way I kind of look at that is I'm a big advocate of people having purpose in their life.
right,
There has to be a reason that you're here. It
sure,
can't just be I just live to pay bills and fulfill, momentary impulses and you know, uh, short-term satisfactions
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know where I'm going with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
right,
So
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that people need to know exactly what it is that they're here for and to start going down that path of living up to that purpose and fulfilling that purpose and
Hmm.
that's what gives to me that's what gives people the drive. Not even the motivation. Like motivation is one thing, but motivation comes and goes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like
Sure.
that's like the tide,
Hmm.
sometimes
Hmm.
if you only perform when you're motivated, like you're only going to perform
The
20% of
whole
the
life.
time, right?
right,
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
with purpose and if you take it seriously comes discipline, comes consistency, comes goals. And every time that you achieve one of those goals leading up to what you believe that purpose to be, it gives you another reason to just be like, man, look, I did that. You
Right.
know, like I can accomplish things. I can do things. And what drives me crazy is, you know, like you have, and not to, you know, I'm not trying to make you a poster child or anything like that.
Sure.
But you've suffered some real life setbacks, you know, like not just like petty stuff or, you know, like, oh, bummer, I got a flat tire, you know, like which I had the other day, which was an event in of itself, but still obviously nowhere near on the charts of what you've been through, John. And you know, it just drives me crazy when people are like, oh, I can't do this. It's like, no, you just choose not to. Just because it makes you mildly uncomfortable, and you know, it's outside of your comfort zone, you can't go talk to that girl, or you can't go whatever level up at your job, or it's all on you. It's all in your own mindset that is self-sabotaging yourself, right? And so what I really like about your story is that you went through a full litany of different emotional ranges due to different circumstances. It wasn't one thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it wasn't just I fell off a roof. It wasn't just, you know, alcoholism. It wasn't just my wife left me. It's like, that's all of it, man. You know, and the fact that your mindset is so positive, and, you know, I'd love to hear, you know, I know that we talked a little bit before starting the podcast, and you said that there was like a local community that you're affiliated with. What can you kind of give a little bit of like a story of maybe somebody that you influenced, or maybe somebody that, you know, just your story really spoke to them, and now they're on to doing bigger and better things from your influence? Is it, can you kind of break something down like that?
You know, if there's a new spinal cord patient, a spinal cord injury patient, the hospital will call either me or one of my friends that's in this group. And,
Okay.
you know, so we sort of invite the new person into the group and then try to just show them that, hey, look, life isn't over. Life is different and just beginning, really. Because now your old life, that is over, but your new life is just now starting. So there's a whole lot of getting the can't out, you know, because people have a tendency to say, I can't. But growing up as a pessimist, I had to learn to look on the brighter side of things.
Yeah.
Because even in all the darkness, it's only dark for a little while. There's always something good on the other side of whatever. And that's really hard to see when you're going through it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's so much easier looking back at like those darker times now for me, even. And honestly, people are like, so how's your day going? And I'm like, I have great days all the time. I don't really have bad days. Not unless I got the flu or something, you know.
Sure.
Hey, COVID, that was kind of miserable.
I got you. Okay. So what, now you were successful as being a lineman. You had other things going on and that kind of thing. What do you do now?
Now I write screenplays for a little production company in North Carolina.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I wrote 12 last year. This year I'm kind of working on like a feature film. So we'll see how that goes. I'm about halfway through it, unless it's going to be a 2-part series or something, but we'll see.
I got you. You know, I may, I got to talk to him first, but there's one of my students is that's exactly what he does. He's
right
one
on.
of the writers on Picard on Paramount.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's one of the writers there, and he's one of the writers on The Equalizer. I think it's on CBS with Queen Latifah. You know, so there goes my camera. Hang on one second. Sorry about that. Oops. I have this like weird glitchy thing going on with my camera. Like, if it does it again, just don't think I didn't lose my mind or something, you know. Like, why is he shaking like that? But
Like the classic Max Headroom.
yeah, that's what you're about the third person that said that, man. But yeah, man. So what? Maybe I can link you guys up. You know what I mean? And
Sure, that'd be awesome.
Maybe who knows what can happen from there. You know what I'm saying? So
right on. Heck
yeah. So but no, I mean that's awesome. Now in your writing, when you're writing screenplays, like, do you find that the things that you have been through to be motivation or I guess inspiration for what it is that you're writing?
Sometimes, but you know, typically with my stuff, it's like more active imagination, really.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of use it. I got into studying Carl Jung pretty heavy.
Oh, that's my dude.
Yeah. So that whole, you know, collective unconscious and all that, it's just phenomenal stuff. So, really, that's what writing is for me is that active imagination. So, which, you know, I did do one screenplay. It's about a kid in a wheelchair, and it's like some supernatural occurrences, and he becomes a superhero and all kind of stuff. So, we'll see where that one goes. I have it, you know, I think it's going to end up being submitted to a couple different film festivals, but we'll see how it goes.
All right. No, that's what's up. That's what's up. Okay. Cool. So, you know, being a fan of Carl Jung, and then obviously, you know, about like storytelling and things of that sort, which I'm huge on, being able to tell a well-told story. And have you found that your story, like, I know that you'd mentioned, you know, if somebody, you know, has a back injury or a spine injury, I guess I should say, you know, that you're one of the people that, you know, they call to come talk to that person. Do you find that your personal story, when you're talking to them, I mean, how often are the people that you're talking to, they're just like, man, I don't even want to live. Like this is horrible, you know? Like, how often do you encounter something like that?
It's, you know, everybody tries to put on a happy persona when you meet them, even people who've been injured.
Yeah.
But you can kind of tell what they're going through. I can tell what they're going through because I've been there, you know, quite specific. And I remember pretending a whole lot too. But no, like I try to stay away from the my wife left and all this. I try to just show the life after has been good, you know?
Yeah. I get you.
Mainly because who knows? I don't want them to be scared that maybe their wife will leave them and stuff. They're already going through it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they're already going through it. So, as far as if their wife had been like, oh, I'm leaving you right now, which that does happen, by the way, like in the hospital, you know, the wife just bolts, which I've never met that particular person, but, you know, so that would be a good one to have to be able to talk to and say, hey, look, you know, that's how it goes, you know, but from here it will get better.
Yeah. I get you. Did you happen to go through any kind of therapy or anything like, and I don't mean physical therapy, I mean with like talk therapy or something like that?
I tried it. I did try it.
Okay.
And yeah, I guess my problem with going with therapy is I have a kind of a hard time opening up, or maybe they don't ask the right questions because they're like, so why are you here? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm trying to get better. You know, that's how it went. And which at the time, the lady I was married to had, she wanted me to go to she's like, you need to go to therapy. So then my answer was, well, my wife wants me in therapy. So yeah, and you know, I really did myself a disservice there, but you know, I hadn't done therapy since.
Okay.
Mainly just, I honestly, I listened to a lot of preaching to begin with, and motivational speaking and stuff like that, which was good in the gym, you know. So it's like you got this motivation stuff and get out there and get it. It's a 1 in 400 trillion chance that you're alive. So, you know, what are you going to do with it and all that? So, that really helped me a whole lot was listening to that sort of thing, because I knew what my problems were. And then from there, I got into journaling pretty heavy. Good. And in my right, and that's another thing is you know, that's actually the last exercise in this book is just journal for a week. Talk to yourself and tell yourself how you're doing. You know, give yourself credit. Say, look, you're doing great, or you know, there's some room for improvement, but these are the things you're doing right. So I did that quite a bit, and then I act like my own therapist in my journals too. Like, so what seems to be the problem today? You know,
you know, one of the things I really like about that is I'm a big advocate of people journaling. You know, and one of the things that guys tend to run into when they're journaling, or at least on the onset before they actually start, as I'm suggesting it, they're like, well, you know, I'm not the best writer in the world, or I'm not, you know, like I can't hardly spell, you know, and I'm like, I don't care if you write gibberish, just whatever comes up, just write it down. You're not publishing it, you know, like it doesn't matter as long as it's you authentically, you know. This isn't an avenue to try to impress anybody. This is just strictly for you to get your own thoughts onto paper. That's it. You know, I believe that you know, that really that's a window to the subconscious. You know, is you just start writing, even if it's just nonsense, until things start coming up. And then you can really start getting it out there. And I find that to be a really good release for people to just start letting go of things and not just carry it around and hang on to these things. And one thing I love about even before you kind of turn things around to the mindset that you have now, one thing that I really like is the fact that it sounds like to me that you were brutally honest with yourself. You said, I know I have these problems that need to be addressed, you know, and so many people, man, that, you know, they go through life and they just accept whatever it is that they think. It's like, well, I thought it, so therefore it must be, that's just part of who I am. And then they entertain these thoughts, and a thought can come from anywhere, but what they don't realize a lot of times is you can't control a thought that pops in your head, but you can control if you're going to marinate on it. If you're going to stew in that thought, you know, and entertain it, you do have power over that, you know?
For sure, yeah.
I'm sure that you've had a ton of negative thoughts that have popped in your head, you know?
Oh, yeah.
You know, but if you don't, what's the word I'm looking for here, Shivam?
Give them power, basically. Like if you don't give those negative thoughts any power to take, you know, root, you just
ruminate.
Like
that's the word.
Ruminate, basically. Yeah.
Hey, look, when one of them comes up for me, I literally go, why are you thinking that? You know, like, why are we thinking that? And then I go, okay, maybe this is why I'm thinking that. And then after I got a handle on it, I go, okay, there's no cause in that, because most of your negative stuff comes from a fear. And it seems like fear is, what is it? It's unrealized, or maybe it's gosh, I totally had it and then I lost it. But fear is really not real, right? You're afraid of something that doesn't exist.
Yep.
Essentially, unless like you're scared of falling off a building and you're way up high, you know, then that fear, you know, is relevant. But
the fear in part, you know, like anybody who doesn't feel fear, they're either lying or they're crazy, you know, like you're going, I mean, if I'm running at you with a machete, if you're not scared, there's something wrong with
you
know?
No doubt.
So,
no doubt. But being afraid something's not going to work out or something
Sure.
like that, that's more along the lines of where I'm at. There's that fear is really not real.
It's all uncertainty is what it is.
Because it's definitely not going to work out if you don't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
But you may fail, but chances are, I mean, you're going to be all right. You're going to figure out how to succeed even after you fail.
Exactly. And you know, it's so funny you say that, because in a large part of my coaching is getting people to communicate themselves more effectively and efficiently, you know. So if you got a guy at, we'll say, I mean, it could be a bar, it could be, you know, the mall, anywhere. And, you know, it's like, hey, go talk to that girl over there. Like, well, what if she, you know, what if she slaps me in my face? What if she freaks out? What if she, like, dude, I've done this a million times, and I've taught a million guys to do it a million times, and I have yet to see a drink get thrown in somebody's face or slapped, or like, I've never seen it, you know?
Right.
So all that is you're uncertain of the result that could happen. And usually when people are uncertain of a result, their mind shifts to the most negative outcome. For whatever reason, I don't know why exactly, but it just shifts that most negative outcome. And it's like, dude, it's not going to happen, man. I promise you. If anything, she'll just be like, hey, I'm busy. You know, or whatever, or I'm not interested.
I got a boyfriend.
Or whatever.
That's it.
That will be the extent of it. That will be the most that will happen. That's a negative.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, on that topic though, a lot of girls just want somebody to talk to them in general, and a lot of guys don't even understand that.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%. 100%. You know, nobody. There's very few people on planet Earth that are like, man, I really hope I don't have a really interesting conversation today.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's like, man, I hope I have nothing but small talk and talk about the weather. And, you know, it's kind of like this, you know, you go to get a haircut. You know, what's the first thing that they're asking you? Like, oh, so did you do anything interesting last weekend? Or you got anything cool coming up this weekend? Or, you know, like, oh, you know, you off work today? Or, you know, like, it's their own like little script that they operate off of, that they do all day, every day. And I refuse to have those conversations like that. Like if I go to get a haircut, I am going to give her the most interesting conversation that she has had all day. And the one thing I notice is my haircuts take forever, because they don't want me to leave, because they're having such a good time with the conversation, you know? Yeah. So yeah, man, I concur 100% with what you're saying. And, you know, to kind of backtrack a little bit about, you know, stories and you and what you were talking about with journaling and things like that. One of the exercises that I have guys do, and anybody watching this podcast, feel free to do it. And I'd love if you did it and reached out to me and let me know how it goes for you. But one of the things that I really have them do is write their backstory, their origin story. Okay. Much like I asked you, John, you know, like, so tell me about before, you know, because to know where you're going, you have to know where you came from. You know, there has to be a starting point. Then I'm having them write their now. Okay. This was you then. This is you now. And then I have them write their future. Now, once they have that future written out, much like you said, like you got to have something. There has to be some type of purpose, some type of what do you want to do? Yeah. You know, and it's like, okay, this is your future story. How can you live up to that? What adjustments, what little tweaks, what things can you do to start implementing the strategies to get you to there from where you're at now? You know, and I found that to be very effective for people, because it shows them, if they're being honest with themselves and they write that future story, I mean, as long as they're taking it serious and they're not like, you know, like, well, I'm 46, but I could see myself in 10 years being a quarterback in the NFL. Like, no, dude, that's
not going to happen.
You know, but, but the thing is that as long as they're honest with themselves and they're, write a real future story, something that they can achieve and look to, and I can be that. Now it gives you something to aim for.
Yep, exactly.
For sure.
So, but listen, in your book, you said you have 11 different exercises, correct?
Right. It's really a culmination of the ones that I collected just through my own research and doing and that sort of thing, and then my opinion about them.
I got you.
So yeah, okay. It's sort of like a one-stop shop, essentially, and I started writing it, and I had a binder about this thick of just ideas on everything. So then I really had to abridge that, and it's only 50 pages, so it's easy, right? I wanted to have something that'd be easy for people.
Yeah.
And really I want to see other people that are chasing a dream, are not necessarily chasing a dream, but working toward that dream.
Yeah. No doubt. I love that. I see so often, where people get too competitive over other people's success, in the sense of, you got this guy who's working towards doing something, and then you have the naysayers, or the people that are just like, fuck that dude, why does he get to do this and I don't? That guy isn't taking opportunity away from you. Right. That guy's just doing his thing. And looking at it through the right perspective would be, hey, now I know what's achievable. Now I can see somebody having real success doing the same type of thing that I'm doing. So that is attainable. I'm seeing it in real life, real time. This person doing it, I can do it too.
Right. It's not just a single pie that everybody has to take a small slice of.
Right. Yeah, man. It's like a bakery. Like, there's just man coming out the oven.
That's it. That's it. It's a pie factory. That's right. No doubt.
All right. Well, I think on that note, we could probably wrap this up. So listen, if you're going through something that you feel as though, and I don't mean to minimize anybody's experience, everybody has their own unique experiences to them, and some things can seem very real and very traumatic to you. So, it's not to, like, John went through a lot of stuff. That means you're not going through nothing. So buck up, buddy. I'm not trying to say that, but what I am saying is, if you feel as though you are going through something that is potentially a life-changing experience, listen, reach out to John, man. I'll put his link in the description here. Grab that book, and start making some real headway in your own life. I mean, look, he's living proof that things are attainable, things are achievable, except for my camera, not achievable. But in a real life sense, though, these are people who have worked their way through real problems and found real solutions. So reach out to them, and also, if you have questions, if you have anything that you would like to see us address on this podcast, reach out to me. I'm easy to find. Okay. So reach out to me, if you're planning a trip to India, talk to Shabam here.
For sure.
So on that note, John, listen, I appreciate you, man. You're truly inspirational. I look at people like yourself, and like, it makes me wonder, could I, if in a similar situation, how would I come out of that? And I'd like to believe that I would be similar, as you. No. There's no way to know until you know, I guess. But here's what I do know, is that if you're able to do it, and there's many other people like you that change this thing from a negative to a positive, like I said, man, it's achievable.
Right, that's hope. Right, that's literally, like, he's living proof of hope, man.
Yeah,
quite literally.
Exactly. So appreciate you, John. And guys, we'll be back next week with another podcast, and I will talk to you soon.
Yep.
Sure. Thanks,
Cheers,
man.
guys.